Hello everyone, and welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Settle in, because every heartbeat and detail is in this video. If you enjoy our stories, remember to subscribe and share so you never miss what really happens behind the cameras. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we turn our attention to a confession that has shaken the quiet image of a couple many believed was unbreakable. For the first time, Sinem Ünsal has opened up about a private ordeal she kept tucked away for months, and the words she shared have lit a fire across the entertainment world. In a candid moment among her closest friends, Sinem admitted that her separation from Ozan Akbaba was far more painful than anyone on the outside might have guessed. Their relationship had quietly come to an end some time ago. The whispers had been there, the hints were everywhere, but neither had put it in writing or spoken it aloud to the public. That long-standing silence broke when Sinem, through tears and a trembling voice, said something that ricocheted through every newsroom and living room. Ozan ended things over a phone call. Those who were there say she could barely get the words out, as if, even now, speaking them made the wound fresh again. Friends close to Sinem say that the day it happened still plays on a loop in her mind. The call was brief, the implication, final. There were no long explanations, no final walk, no last look across a familiar room. A voice on the other end, an ending, and then an emptiness in the spaces where conversations used to be. It left her numb long after the ring had faded from her ears. For a while, they say, she shut her door to everyone, not out of anger, but because she needed to understand how something once so shared could end with such distance. She didn't want to dissect it, analyze it, or dress it up. She wanted quiet. She wanted time. The shock, of course, didn't end inside that room of confidants. The moment the story reached the air, it spread like wildfire. While Sinem found the courage to put her feelings into words, Ozan chose silence. He has not made a statement. That silence has become its own kind of question mark, and the internet split along the familiar fault lines. On one side, messages of comfort for Sinem poured in, compassion echoing her pain, her vulnerability, her bravery. On the other, a chorus of voices insisted that no judgment should be made until both sides spoke, that love is complicated and endings often have more than one truth. For those who had followed them from the beginning, the confession was a jolt. Their story began with two actors crossing paths on set, their chemistry visible even when the cameras weren't rolling. They navigated the rhythm of premieres, long filming days, and whispers from corridors where stories are always just being born. There were ups and downs, of course. Careers at full speed leave little room for pauses, and the gaze of the public is heavy even on the lightest days. But through it all, they seemed to understand each other's worlds in a way that felt rare. They guarded their privacy with intention, laughed when asked too many questions, and brushed aside rumors the way city people shrug off sudden rain. Scenes from their past projects still hang in the air for fans who watched them grow, the affectionate interviews, the playful exchanges, the way their eyes searched each other's faces in crowded rooms. It made the notion of a phone call as the final act feel particularly cruel to the romantics among us. Yet, here we are, with a single confession turning a private heartbreak into a public reckoning. And it is the sincerity of that confession that pulled the story back into the spotlight. There was no glitz to her words, no attempt to make herself heroic or wronged. Just reality, spoken softly and with tears that fell before they could be brushed away. Those who were present insist Sinem's hands shook as she described the end. She tried to keep her voice even, but it wavered. She paused often. She talked about how the world felt too loud afterward, and how ordinary tasks suddenly seemed impossible. They say she wondered if she could have seen it coming, if there were signs she had chosen not to read. They say she wasn't looking to place blame, she was trying to understand how love can be shared so fiercely and still leave two people standing alone. Across social media, the debate raged. Some called it unacceptable to end a serious relationship with a call. Others said no one outside truly knows what led to that moment. The truth, as always, is somewhere between. What is certain is that Sinem's words cracked something open for thousands who have lived their own quiet heartbreaks. It wasn't just a celebrity story anymore, it was the universal ache of goodbye and the hollow weight of a last ringtone. Meanwhile, Ozan's decision to remain quiet has turned the volume up on speculation. Friends of the couple keep their heads down, careful with their words. Those who know him describe him as intense, private, self-contained traits that, under normal circumstances, make for admirable discipline, but in times like these create a vacuum. That vacuum hums with opinions, theories, and imagined scenes from a moment none of us witnessed. His silence may be a shield, it may be an answer, or it may be a prelude to something he hasn't found the strength to share. But for now, it is silence, and it changes nothing about the reality of how it ended for her. In the aftermath, the press did what the press does. Every old photo found new meaning. Every clip from a premiere was rewound, paused, studied. Was there a sign in how they stood? Was there a shadow in a smile? Did anyone notice the way their hands no longer found each other the way they once did? All of it, of course, is the futile magic of looking back. The human impulse to rewrite endings into beginnings, to find explanations where perhaps none exist. Yet the scrutiny is part of the life they live, and it will trail them for a while longer. Sinem, in the midst of it, has become a symbol to many who admire her work and warmth. She has always been steady-eyed in interviews, careful, gracious. That is why this confession felt like a door opening to a room she never invited the public into. It made her real in a new way to those who've watched her for years. And with it comes a question that hovers over her next steps: will she say more? Will she write a longer message to the ones who love her, offering context or closure? Or will this single moment of unguarded truth be enough, a fragment that says everything without saying more? For now, she has chosen to remain light on specifics. She let her truth be heard, and then she drew the curtain partway closed again. The impact, however, is not going anywhere. The confession has rewired how people think about their timeline, their public smiles, their quiet nights. It has also deepened the curiosity about whether these two, who were once so attuned to each other on and off the set, might ever sit down and speak to their supporters openly, side by side, each offering the version of events that belongs to them. As the days pass, messages of support continue to fill her feeds. Fans tell her they understand. They write about their own endings, their own unexpected calls. They send her strength, and in return, she gives them the same thing she always has: presence, grace, and the hint of a smile that says she will keep going. The work goes on. The cameras will roll again. But the echo of that call remains, a private sound that somehow all of us have learned to hear. The story doesn't end with that revelation. In another conversation that rippled through the industry, Sinem's words reached a broader circle. If the first confession was a whisper that slipped out in safe company, the second was a tremor that found its way to the public. She didn't name dates or share messages. She didn't point to villains or dress herself as a saint. She simply confirmed the ending and how it came to pass. Once more, she spoke of the way her chest tightened, the way the world focused into a single point while the call was still live, and how everything after felt muted for days. Those listening say it was the rawness of her voice that stayed with them. By then, the story had become inescapable. Studios were careful with questions. Colleagues offered soft nods, that industry code for "I'm here if you need me." And the tabloids? Well, they found fuel in the simple, devastating image of a relationship ending via a phone. The irony isn't lost on anyone: two people so comfortable before cameras and microphones, undone by a device they use every hour of the day. Again, Ozan did not speak. The absence of his version kept the conversation unresolved, looping back on itself, a circle of speculation with no clear exit. Some said his silence was respect. Others saw it as indifference. Both interpretations say more about the audience than the man, but that's what happens when a story like this grows wings. It flies where it wants, and the people below shade their eyes and guess at the direction. If you follow their story closely, you remember the early days, the surprise appearances, the easy banter, the moment they were caught looking at each other like the rest of the room had slipped out a side door. They once stood together on a carpet and talked about craft, about long nights and early mornings, about how being understood by someone who lives your same chaos is a gift. Those memories still exist. An ending doesn't erase the truth of what was, even if it adds a bruise to the places it touched. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a woman whose honesty made the ground tremble and a man whose quiet made the wind hold its breath. It leaves us with a confession that spread faster than anyone expected, and with a question that hangs over every next step: Will there be a fuller statement, a letter, an interview? Or will this fragment be the only piece we're ever given? Either way, the emotions are real, the consequences lingering, and the fascination unbroken. In private, friends say, Sinem is gentler now, but clearer. She is rebuilding the small rituals that make a life. Coffee in the same mug each morning, a walk that ends at a familiar corner, a routine that remembers how to hold her. She knows the noise will die down, but the internet has a long memory, and so she moves carefully, reclaiming her time in a way that makes sense to her. The lesson is not about who was right or wrong, it is about how endings arrive, and how we carry them. And for the audience, there is empathy, that complicated empathy we feel for people whose lives we both watch and don't own. Some will keep arguing online. Some will step back. Some will send her texts they will never send to their own former loves. But if there is a center to this story, it is a single, unadorned truth: a relationship ended, and the goodbye came in a voice through a speaker. The simpleness of that is what hurts the most. Because we've all felt it, somewhere, in some form. This is where we are for now. Sinem has spoken, cautiously and with tears. Ozan has not yet. Their history. Their creative overlap, the way they learned each other's rhythms, remains a part of both of them whether they say another word or not. The world will watch and wait, as it always does. Maybe they will offer more clarity. Maybe they will decide that what belongs to them should remain with them. Either way, this confession has already become a defining moment, not just for two people but for everyone who loves to believe in the stories between the scenes. We will continue to follow this with care and respect. If a more complete statement arrives from either side, we'll be here to bring it to you with the same honesty you heard tonight. Until then, hold space for the fact that even the brightest stars live tender, human truths. Thank you for watching Whispers of Turkish Stars. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to subscribe and share. We'll see you in our next video.